I'm Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics. Today I'm going to show you how to make the Road to Oklahoma block and put that all together in a quilt that we're calling Stars of Victory. Now this meets the Quilt of Valor standards for size. So this is a great quilt to give to service member and honor them and thank them for the service to our country. Now this is very easy to put together. It goes together in the snap. There's just 20 blocks, inner border, outer border, and a binding. We'll have the download available at the Shabby Fabrics homepage, or just click on the description box below and we'll have all the links for you. And of course, we have a kit available. I'll be using some tools to assist me today, but let's just jump into this. Let's just break down the block for the first to start with. These are just a 4-patch unit. We have some half square triangles and some squares sewn together. It's very simple. So the first thing I wanted to do was just cut some 3.5-inch strips and piece them together. And I did that with 2 different blues here, 2 different blues, just for a little bit of a variety. Now I'll be using my 4.5-inch by 8.5-inch Creative Grids ruler. I love this ruler. It's got the 3.5-inch mark. I'll just place that on here. I've already squared up the end of my strip set, and I'm simply going to just keep going and cut 3.5-inch strips all the way down. And I've done the same thing with the other blue. You'll simply go in the opposite direction. By the way, when I sew strip sets together like this, I like to always press to the darker fabric. Just a matter of habit of mine, unless there's a reason to go to the lighter fabric. Sometimes there is. In this instance, though, I've pressed to the darker fabrics, the dark blue, and you'll simply place them right sides together, nest the seams, sew a 1/4-inch seam allowance, and then you have your 4-patch. But there's something really cool I want to show you. It's how to kind of pop your seams. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. It creates a little like pinwheel on the back of your little 4-patch unit. So this is what we just did, right? We sewed that together just like I mentioned. Now this is really cool. We'll go ahead and we'll set our seam with a nice hot iron. I'm on full hot on a linen setting. Now as I open this up from the back side, notice how this seam is going in this direction and this seam is going in this direction. I'm going to continue in a counterclockwise direction. So this is going here. So I'm going to press this seam, giving a little bit of a pull just so I don't get a tuck on the front side. And I'm coming right up to here. And let me just switch, because this one goes here, this goes here, this goes here. And now, to keep the flow going, I'm going to go here. Notice how this is opening up right here, which is what I want. This is desirable. Let me put the iron down. We're just going to open that up, kind of fiddle that around, give a good little press. And you see how that makes a little pinwheel? What this is doing is it helps the 4-patch to lay nice and flat. Some of my previous quilts where I didn't do this, you have almost a rise there. Yes, it's subtle, but now this is going to lie nice and flat. Now from the front side, I like to just double check I'm good and flat, and I'll press again. And of course you would just repeat that. That's what's in this corner, and I did another one ahead of time for down in this corner. Now for this block, this is also very simple. I have squares, 3.5-inch squares. These are half square triangles, and I just wanted to go over those with you if you don't know how to do half square triangles. And even if you do, I have a cool new product. It's actually not new. It may be new to you, but it is definitely not new. But let me show you the old-fashioned way. Whatever you want your finished size of that square to be, 3 inches in this instance, you would add 7/8 of an inch, and you would cut 3 7/8-inch squares, and you would simply draw on the line with your friction pen, corner to corner. Let's put that there. You'd simply draw on the line, sew a 1/4 inch on either side, and cut them apart. So let me show you that real quick. Now, some people, me included, 7/8 isn't my favorite measurement. It's not always easy to find. It's not always comfortable to sew. And some people actually bump that up to a 4 and then have to trim that half square unit down, which takes time. This is kind of the old-fashioned way of making those, and it absolutely works, but it's not as accurate or as fun as another way of using what's called star singles, which I love that. So instead of cutting 3 7/8 inch squares, what our instructions are telling us here is to simply cut 8-inch squares of fabric of the two colors you want to use, the red and the tan in this instance, placing them right sides together, and you'll place the paper directly over top, making sure it's perfectly centered, and you will pin. Starting at the number 1 side, you will simply, and be sure to shorten your stitch length. Definitely helps because you're going to peel the paper away. It gives your block a little bit more stability. Start here, pivot in the corners at the dark circle, go all the way around. Then, once you have that, you will simply take this to your spinning mat, and this is where I love to use a spinning mat. It's so handy. I will simply cut on my solid lines, and I will keep going all the way around. Now let me just go ahead and grab one. I just want to show you, because I would just keep cutting everything apart, but for time's sake, we'll just focus on this particular one. So just remember, dashed lines are stitch lines, solid lines are cut lines. So here, I like to just peel this, kind of fold this back, and it just tears away. And then we'll take that over here, set our seam, and press to the darker side. And when I use these to make things like this or pinwheels, all the points just come together beautifully, absolutely accurately every single time, and I love that. It's fun to sew on a dashed line versus trying to guess a 1/4 inch away from that drawn line. So as you can see, we would simply, at this point, we've got our 4 patches out here, we have this here, and you'll put your squares in the corner and you'll create that block. And I also want to encourage you to spin your centers here as well, just like you did on the 4 patch. And then you'll simply sew these two together and those two together, and we went ahead and we pressed our seams open on that. So there's all there is to making the Road to Oklahoma block. If you enjoyed learning something in our video today, give us a thumbs up. Again, the free download is available in the description box below or on the Shabby Fabrics homepage at the very bottom. Click free downloads. See you next time.